Most good pop music is not necessarily from a morbid place, but it's from a melancholic place, or a place that's ambivalent at the least. I quite like the fact that our songs, like, they're never one mood. They always feel like they're shimmering between moods, or they're confused or fractured about their own mood.
Foals are this really exciting, promising band from Oxford in the United Kingdom. Their first album came out a few years ago. It was a really interesting sort of arty album.
These days I think they're playing much more, it's like an intense, dancey rock.
Now I guess they're trying to break America, which is a huge step up for them. And the new album is almost unrecognizable from that band that came out of Oxford back then.
When we made this record, I think we felt like we were chasing these moments that we've had live where it's all consciousness and boundaries of self basically dissolve, and we almost just become vessels for music to flow through us. I'm not really like a deeply spiritual person, but there's an element of it that feels like it's totally above your control.
They're going for this more sort of anthemic, almost arty arena rock kind of quality, and I think they hit that quite well.
Inhaler is an incredible single.
It's just like Foals, but with a couple of extra cylinders on the bottom, I think.
Definitely with Inhaler, like, we wanted to convey just raw, like a kind of a brutal elegance. We wanted it to be huge. It should have, like, we wanted it to sound like a volcano or something in the chorus. It sonically portrays like some of the feelings lyrically about claustrophobia and asphyxiation, and we wanted it to have this element of wanting to burst out of your environment and kind of create space and obliterate everything around you.
They worked with Flood and Alan Moulder, who produced 9 Inch Nails, Downward Spiral, and Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy.
Flood and Alan Moulder have produced probably every single album that every music fan is obsessed with, and has worked with every band that every music fan is obsessed with. They've basically created the sound of alternative rock.
A number of us in the band grew up listening to the records that Flood and Moulder produced. Like, I remember I used to like work at this bagel joint where actually Edwin ended up working as well, but after like long shifts I would just walk like 40 minutes home listening to Downward Spiral and listening to Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, and it just seemed like a foregone conclusion the moment we heard they wanted to work with us.
Having Alan Moulder and Flood work on your record is a telltale sign that this is a record that's important to everybody.
It's always tough when a band that's big in Britain tries to come over to the United States. Sometimes it works. There are obviously many examples of that, and sometimes you come across the sea and no one really cares. I think Foals are sort of shooting for that crossover, and I think they have a really good shot at it.
Moving from an indie like Sub Pop up to a major like Warner, I think if you're a band in this day and age, and even if you have these kind of indie beginnings, I think you'd be a fool not to take these opportunities when they're presented to you. It's not easy to make money out of the music industry now, and Foals come from a very indie background, kind of very DIY, and they've had these opportunities to really make a huge success of their work across the transatlantic. I mean, I kind of respect them for doing that. I don't think they're selling out or anything like that. I don't think that really exists anymore,
I like the idea that our songs can mean the same thing, or like can mean an equal amount to like some like kid in Indonesia or some guy in the north of England, and who are in very different like conditions, and that it can transcend those sorts of boundaries.
The sound of the Foals' new album is, I would say, it's bigger, it's broader, it has sort of more arena scale hooks than you necessarily had. It's not as insular as their original sound was. And I think that's a smart direction for them to go. I think they've retained what makes them unique and interesting, but they're trying to appeal to a broader audience and sort of go bigger. If
we like silently and tacitly felt good about what we were writing, then we knew that was the way to go.
Interestingly enough, Foals are doing some sort of music industry class in England where they're teaching students about the music industry. So a band that understands the business about music is one that can really understand how to make themselves successful.
Music for us is a compulsion more than a career. We definitely enjoy touring, and we like enjoy the fact that you can connect to a lot of people and make songs that translate out, and there's an excitement in feeling like your songs mean something to people. But in terms of like crossing over or hitting into some big market or stepping up to the, step up to the plate, I don't know. They just feel like words.